Okay, now we're back at Haven, and we're gonna take some time to talk to our companions. Have some conversations. Alright, so we're gonna work our way around. We're gonna start with Cullen. Let's go talk to Cullen and see how he's doing.
You there. There's a shield in your hand. Block with it. If this man were your enemy, you'd be dead. Lieutenant, don't hold back. The recruits must prepare for a real fight, not a practice one.
Yes, Commander.
We've received a number of recruits. Locals from Haven and some pilgrims. None made quite the entrance you did.
I like to stand out.
At least I got everyone's attention.
That you did. I was recruited to the Inquisition in Kirkwall myself. I was there during the Mage Uprising. I saw firsthand the devastation it caused.
Sir.
Cassandra sought a solution. When she offered me a position, I left the Templars to join her cause. Now it seems we face something far worse.
Everything's a mess.
The Conclave destroyed, a giant hole in the sky. Things aren't looking good.
Which is why we're needed. The Chantry lost control of both Templars and Mages. Now they argue over a new divine while the breach remains. The Inquisition could act when the Chantry cannot. Our followers would be part of that. There's so much we can... Forgive me. I doubt you came here for a lecture.
I mean, you've thought this through.
You've given this a lot of thought.
I know what happens when order is lost, and action comes too late. There's still a lot of work ahead.
Commander, Sir Ryden has a report on our supply lines.
As I was saying.
Alright, let's go talk to Cassandra. See how she's doing over here. She seems to be letting out her aggression on the dummies.
Ugh.
You need stronger dummies, I think.
I think you need practice dummies made of sturdier stuff.
That would be nice.
Like maybe iron.
Did I do the right thing? What I have set in motion here could destroy everything I have revered my whole life. One day they may write about me as a traitor, a madwoman, a fool, and they may be right.
What do you believe, Cassandra?
What does your faith tell you?
I believe you are innocent. I believe more is going on here than we can see. And I believe no one else cares to do anything about it. They will stand in the fire and complain that it is hot. But is this the Maker's will? I can only guess.
I mean... I'm glad you don't think I'm chosen.
You don't think I'm the Herald of Andraste?
I think you were sent to help us. I hope you were. But the Maker's help takes many forms. Sometimes it's difficult to discern who it truly benefits, or how.
Well, what happens next?
What's going to happen now?
Now we find allies to help us close the breach, if that is even possible. And if there are consequences to be paid for what I have done, I pay them. I only pray the price is not too high.
It's too late to turn back now, Cassandra.
Isn't it a bit late to worry about it now?
We have only just begun. My trainers always said, Cassandra, you are too brash. You must think before you act. I see what must be done, and I do it. I see no point in running around in circles like a dog chasing its tail. But I misjudged you in the beginning, did I not? I thought the answer was before me, clear as day. I cannot afford to be so careless again.
Glad to hear it.
Can't say I'm not grateful to hear that.
I can be harsh, I know. You've said you don't believe you're chosen. Does that mean you also don't believe in the Maker?
I am Canary, remember? Yeah, I don't believe in your maker, but I respect the fact that you believe.
You're asking me.
You're not a follower of the Kyun. You could be. I suppose it doesn't matter now. I have to believe we were put on this path for a reason, even if you do not. Now it simply remains to see where it leads us.
Okay. Actually, Cassandra, we should probably try to get to know each other better.
It occurs to me I don't actually know much about you.
What do you want to know?
I'm not sure. Where are you from?
No specific place. My mercenary band worked mostly in the free marches, however.
At least until you crossed the waking sea to reach the Conclave, I suppose. Tell me, do you consider the Free Marches your home? Are you eager to go back?
I don't know. Eventually, I guess. But I feel like home is wherever I am. I try to make the best of my circumstances.
Wherever I am is home enough for me.
That's how I feel now, after years of tending to business for the Divine.
The Divine, yes. Let's talk about the Chantry.
May I ask you about the Chantry?
It is difficult to say what becomes of the Chantry now. They have no Templars, no leadership, and no one left who is worthy of succeeding the Divine. It has fallen apart when everyone needs it the most. I ache to think what this will mean in the days to come.
Why did you leave the Chantry?
I'm surprised you rebelled against the Chantry.
I left my own order when they took the wrong path. It is no different. But in neither case did I stop caring. Indeed, I care so much that I feel drastic action is necessary. I suppose history shall one day judge my actions.
I mean, I feel like that's admirable. You're loyal to your organization, but you also are wise enough and not blinded by that loyalty to see when they do something wrong. I admire that in you, Cassandra. But should the Chantry be saved? Because is that what you're trying to do?
Do you really believe the Chantry is worth preserving?
I do. Though I understand how someone born outside of human society might think otherwise. Cast the Chantry aside and new problems replace old ones. We will have learned nothing from history. The people need stability, and the Chantry needs a new purpose. Andraste had a dream for us. It can still be achieved.
You are much more intelligent, much wiser, and much more aware than people give you credit for, Cassandra. What new purpose do you think would happen? Would you like to see?
So what should that new purpose be?
A dedication to what is truly important. Instead of building cathedrals and sewing gowns for the Divine, the Chantry used to spend its coin feeding the poor. If we are to spread the Maker's word across the world, we must do so with open hearts and open hands.
You are an idealist, and I like that.
That sounds rather idealistic of you.
Does it? I do not think it's so unachievable. The Chantry has many good, honest people. They just need direction and inspiration. They need to be freed from centuries of adherence to tradition and ceremony. A chance for renewal is at our fingertips. It does not have to come with utter chaos.
Will there be a new Divine?
Will the Chantry replace Divine Justinia?
They will try. Once the priests withdraw for the Grand Consensus, it is against Chantry law for them to emerge without naming a new Divine. Sometimes it takes days, or weeks, or even months. The problem now is that no clear successor to Justinia exists. All worthy clerics died with her at the Conclave.
But what if they don't agree?
So what happens if they can't agree on someone?
Theoretically, they will argue until exhaustion takes them or they see reason. Practically, however, if the Grand Consensus goes on too long, the Chantry will crumble. Any cleric with ambition but little sense will see this as her one chance, and plenty of such clerics exist. We shall see what happens. The Inquisition must act in the meantime.
Would you serve the new divine?
If they do choose a new divine, will you serve her?
That depends on whether she would have me. I am a rebel now, remember? And even if she would, I do not know. It would depend on what type of divine she is. I am no longer in a position to follow blindly, and no new divine could expect such obedience now.
I mean, I completely and totally respect that, but we do have a slight little issue, and that is Chancellor Roderick, who apparently is reporting to someone and spreading rumors and lies.
What influence does Chancellor Roderick really wield?
He's a bureaucrat, responsible for communicating the divine's will to the rest of the Chantry. Therefore, he's accustomed to the clerics hanging on his every word, hoping his influence will benefit them. Despite that, Roderick is not a bad man. He's frightened, and believes his place is to fill the gap left by Most Holy's death. Some might agree. As far down the chain of command as he is, there is no one left above him.
So, will he be a problem, or does that mean he's not really a problem?
How big a problem could he be?
No more than he is already. He sent his message to the College of Clerics. That is the only card he had to play. Dealing with him further only lends him credibility he doesn't deserve.
Alright. Well, thank you for talking to me.
Thank you.
Let's go check in with Blackwall.
Travel safely.
I've been meaning to thank you. There are 100 things that need your attention. You didn't have to take the time to help me, and yet you did.
It was on the way.
Don't mention it. We happen to be in the area.
And here I thought we were having a special bonding moment. But I've seen the things you've accomplished, and my admiration is not diminished.
Your admiration? You admire me? I'm a little confused. I'm surprised. You know, given that I'm a Canary and everything.
I would never have guessed that you admire me.
Of course I do. You have the world at your feet, myself included.
And if the world hated me?
So you take your cue from everyone else? What if they despised me?
If that were to happen, I would reject the world for lacking in good taste. And perhaps we could continue as we are. Us against them. Now, we should return to our duties before I get too carried away.
Okay, we'll talk later.
Nothing right now. Perhaps in a bit.
Let's talk to the bull. I'm very interested in what he has to say.
They've got good form. Cullen's putting his Templar training to good use.
How do you know he's a Templar?
Did Cullen tell you he was a Templar? He's not wearing the armor.
He didn't have to. Might not be a Templar shield, but it's a Templar holding it. He angles the shield just a bit down. Helps direct fire or acid away, so it doesn't spray right into your face. Canary learned the same thing when we trained to fight Tevinter mages. Your Templar's doing good work.
Well, you could help if you wanted to.
You sound like you want to head down there and give the troops some pointers.
Nah, I'm no good at command unless I know who my guys are sleeping with and what they like to drink. Inquisition's already too large for that. The charges are big enough for me. Biggest problem for the Inquisition right now isn't on the front line. It's at the top. You've got no leader, no Inquisitor.
Well, we've got Cassandra. She's pretty much been holding us together.
Cassandra's been the driving force of this Inquisition. She's the leader in all but name.
Cassandra's a seeker. From what I gather, that's a bit like a Ben Hasrath. She's a good hunter and a great fighter, but she doesn't see the big picture. Too busy searching for answers. My people
I mean, there's
don't
nothing
pick
wrong with
leaders
that.
From the strongest, or the smartest, or even the most talented. We pick the ones willing to make the hard decisions and live with the consequences. Who knows? Maybe you sealed the breach. The Chantry gets off its ass and all those soldiers go home and get fat.
You think?
It could happen. It won't. But it could.
Thanks. Okay, but hold on, I wasn't done.
What's going on?
Let's talk about the Ben Hasrath.
I'd like to know more about your work with the Ben Hasrath.
Ben Hasrath is actually a general term. You've got the secret police who investigate problems inside our territory. You've got the re-educators who take people with problems and fix their minds. Or make them disappear. And then you've got the spies.
Wait a minute, re-educators? I vaguely remember my parents saying something, but they didn't sell me too much.
How do the re-educators work?
Well, I only know the basics. Wasn't my area. That said, keep a man awake long enough. Ask the right questions, give the right potions, and you can get him to say anything. You don't need blood magic or demons to change someone's mind. We're a lot more fragile than we'd like to believe.
I have heard some rumors.
My parents told me stories about what the re-educators did.
Yes, you were lucky your parents got away. The weak minds get bent into the right shape. Strong minds like yours. They'd have given you a poison called Kamek. You'd have been a polite, happy laborer for the rest of your life. And you'd have had a handler to help you eat and make sure you didn't crap your pants.
That doesn't sound like fun. And it doesn't sound like you.
None of those sound exactly like you.
Yeah, I was a special case. They sent me to Saharan because they needed someone who could fight and hunt down problems. That whole island was a sack of cats. Incursions from Tevinter, Tal-Vashath, and native rebels fighting both sides. And in the middle, me, trying to wrangle the rebels and restore order.
Sounds impossible.
How'd that work out for you?
About as well as you'd expect. I hunted down a lot of rebels. Lost a lot of friends to the Vince, or the Fog Warriors, or the Tal-Vashath. One day I woke up and couldn't think of a damned reason to keep doing my job. Turned myself into the re-educators.
Wait, what? Why?
You'd heard what the re-educators did to their prisoners.
Yes, I had. I wanted them to fix me like they fixed them. The Ben Hasrath ordered me to go to Orlais, ostensibly as a Tal-Vashath, and work undercover. That's how I ended up here.
I mean, I got to meet you, so I guess that's a good thing?
I'm glad you're here, Bull.
Me too.
If you ever need to talk more about all this, let me know.
Nah, it was a long time ago. Thanks, though.
Let's talk to Crumb.
Can I help you with anything?
Yeah, I want to talk about Iron Bull.
I'd like to know more about the Iron Bull.
The chief. First time I met him, he saved my life. I never thought I'd work for a Canary, but he grows on you. He's not like any commander I've ever worked for. That's for damn sure.
Well, how did you end up with him?
How did a Tevinter soldier wind up in a Kunari spy's mercenary company?
I wasn't a soldier at the time. I was in some trouble, trying to flee Tevinter. A Tribune and his men caught me in a border town tavern. They meant to make an example of me. Bull killed them. Gave up his eye doing it. Patched me up and asked if I was looking for work. I've been putting up with his jokes ever since.
He gave up his eye.
That's how he lost the eye?
Yes. The guards had me on the tavern floor when Bull came inside and yelled for them to stop. One of them saw trouble coming and figured he'd finish me off. The guard had a flare. Bull put himself between me and the blow. Big-horned idiot. Didn't even know me.
Is him being a Canary odd for you? I mean, considering especially that you're from Tevinter.
Is it strange to work for a Kunari?
He hasn't tried to convert us to the Qun, if that's what you're asking. The Bull's charges don't care who you light a candle for, so long as your shield stays up. If he hadn't told me he was Ben Hasrath, I'd have thought he'd left that life behind.
I am surprised he told you.
I didn't expect he'd tell you all that he was a spy.
Not the whole band, but those who've been around long enough to trust. He figures most of us would find out sooner or later, and it should come from him. Eyes to eye, he says. It's never messed up a job. He just writes letters back home. Lots of the boys write letters back home.
Okay, well, what kind of commander is he?
How's Iron Bull as a commander?
If you know what you're doing and hold up your end, he's easy. He doesn't accept any less. It keeps us alive, he leads from the front, and if you've an idea that'll win the fight, he listens. I've seen bands whose captains had to prove they were swinging the biggest sword. Well, isn't like that. The charges might give him more lip than you'd expect, but every one of us would lay down our lives for the big ass.
Okay, thank you, because now I'm even more intrigued by him and want to get to know him better.
We'll talk later.
So, I want to try to get to know him a little better.
What can I do for you?
Do you want to talk about being a Canary?
There are few here who know what it means to be Kunari.
You're not Canary. You're Talvashoth. World of
Excuse me.
difference.
I'm still different, though. And, you know, we do have something in common with that.
I still grew up looking like this in a world of mostly humans.
Yeah. Fair enough. You didn't turn into a murdering bandit, so I guess we're fine. You want to know anything about the Canary? Since we're talking about them.
I want to know why you hate the Talvashoth.
What's your problem with Talvashoth?
As Ben Hasrath, my job back home was keeping the peace, helping people live by the Qun. Talvashoth turned their back on all that, decided they'd rather live like savages. The Qun is not perfect, but at least there's some sense to it.
My parents weren't savages, okay? We didn't live like that.
My parents weren't like that. They lived peacefully and raised me as well as any human parents could.
Well, good. They aren't the kind of Talvashoth I've got a problem with, then. Look, if you're worried I'm going to attack you, don't be. I had a lifetime of fighting Talvashoth. You're not the kind I hate.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So now we can go on to asking, you know, well, what is it like growing up in the Qun? Because I am a little curious.
What's it like growing up under the Qun?
The Tamasrans raise us in these units of kids all our own age. They're like teachers, or Chantry sisters. They also help figure out what jobs we should do. They had me pegged for military work early on. When they learned I could hit stuff and lie, they started training me for the Ben Hasrath.
So there are no families?
You never knew your parents?
No. I know for you folks, that's a big deal. The Tamasrans were like our parents, though. Taught us to read, helped us go to sleep, all the parent stuff. I remember the one who helped me build things with blocks. She laughed when I knocked everything down.
So, okay, hold on. So my parents told me that the Canary don't marry. And I'm finding that a little hard to believe. So is that true?
I heard there's no marriage among the Kunari.
Yeah, that's true. Canary love our friends like anyone does, but we don't have sex with them.
Kunari don't have sex?
Oh, we definitely have sex. They're Tamasrans who pop your cork whenever you need it.
Really?
Seriously?
Yes. It's not a big deal like it is here. It's like, I don't know, going to see a healer. Sometimes it's this long, involved thing. It takes all day, leaves you walking funny. Other times you're in and out in 5 minutes. Thank you. See you next week.
So you don't know any true passion or love?
So, you've never really made love, connected with someone in both body and soul.
I don't know. One time they used this thing called the Sato Nerapan. It's a leather-wrapped rod on a harness. That wasn't really my soul, though. Also, there were more than 2 people.
Okay, then. How do they govern?
How do the Kunari rule themselves?
It's pretty simple. We've got the matriarchy, the priesthood, and the military. The priesthood figures out how Canary should live in theory. The matriarchy makes it work in practice. And the military keeps the Canary safe from outside threats.
Really? Is it really that perfect?
Does it actually work like that? Is there much infighting?
Not like you're thinking of. People disagree, yeah, but the priests are there to solve disagreements. Here in Olay, Politicking comes from people putting their own gain ahead of the gains of society. If you do that among the Canary, the Ben Hasrath set you straight. Or kill you.
That doesn't sound good. Alright, what about day-to-day life?
How is everyday life different for Kunari?
Depends on your job, I guess. Some are just about the same. A baker in Val Royeaux gets up, gets dressed, and starts work. A baker in Parvolan does the same thing. They don't care about the Empire or the Qun. Mostly they worry about breaking eggs and hope the dough rises right.
Yeah, except for the baker isn't free, though.
It can't be exactly the same. The Kunari have no personal freedoms.
How many personal freedoms do you figure that baker in Val Royeaux has? Life isn't about freedom. The baker in Parvolan wonders if she'll be given enough eggs to do her work. Will they come on time? Will the kitchen workers get her bread while it's fresh, or will they come late and blame her 'cause it's stale? Same crap in Val Royeaux. People are just people.
I guess that makes sense. What does Canary mean?
The word Kunari, does it mean what we are, the race? Or is it anyone who follows the Qun?
Depends on who you ask. Are you Canary or Talvashath? The humans and elves who follow the Qun are the Vidathari. The Canary who break away from the Qun are Talvashath, deserters.
But what about those who predate the Qun?
What about Kunari who existed before the Qun?
The people we came from. They're called the Kossith, but we don't use that word for the race. We came south to Thedas because the Kossith were... I don't know. We had to leave. The stories aren't clear. But I don't expect they look much like us. Whatever they are.
So why aren't the stories clear, though? Because, a race like the Canary, you would think that they would be very meticulous about the history and the records and stuff. So I smell something funny. I think something's been hidden along the way. That's my theory. What if Thedas fell to the Qun?
Do you ever think about what would happen if the Kunari conquered Orlais or Ferelden?
Some folks, like Cassandra or Cullen, would do fine if they didn't die fighting. Those two love rules. But the mages... Can you imagine Solus trying his fade dreaming under the Qun? Or Vivian doing her political bullshit? Both Sarah and Varric would mouth off until they ended up re-educated. Drugged until their minds broke. So, to answer your question, no. I don't think about it much at all.
Okay, well, thank you for talking with me.
See you later, Bull.
See ya.
All right, let's go see what Varric is up to.
Need something?
Yes, actually, I have some questions about Hawk.
I've read your Tale of the Champion, and I have a few questions.
That's a pretty common reaction. Go ahead.
Okay. What happened to Anders? You know, the mage that started this whole thing?
What happened to the mage who destroyed the Kirkwall Chantry? The book never said.
He fled Kirkwall with the mages from the Circle. Stayed with them a while, but he had to move on. Somehow a lot of mages blamed him for making them live as fugitives. I
understand.
Now, and I don't want to know.
Alright, the Aeroshock Fight. I'm very curious about that one. Because, you know, Aeroshock and Hulk. Did that fight really happen?
There's no way Hawk really could have killed the Aeroshock. It would have started a war with the Kunari.
I was told later that the Kunari disavowed his actions. Apparently the Aeroshock didn't get permission before he attacked Kirkwall, and the Qun didn't want another exalted march. When they finally sent a ship to haul the Red Dreadnought away, they just said, "We will never speak of this again." As far as I can tell, that's the Qun's version of an apology.
Oh. Okay, I guess that makes sense. What about Arsenio? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Why would he fought so hard to prove that there were no blood mages, and then he supposedly turned into some sort of monster?
In the book, you say that first enchanter Orsino turned himself into a giant monster made of corpses. How? Why?
Do I look like an expert on magical weirdness to you? Well, I can't tell you how. For the why, all I can say is he was desperate.
Really? He was desperate? He was that desperate. He had Hawk by his side, right? I don't know. Alright, well, where are Hawk's friends?
Where are the rest of Hawk's associates now?
Meryl decided to look after the elves left homeless by the fighting. She's done a pretty good job of keeping them away from the mages and Templars, so far. I guess she has plenty of practice avoiding stupid human battles with her old Dalish clan. Fenris has kept himself busy, hunting down the Tevinter slavers who came south to prey on the refugees. I'm not sure exactly where he is at the moment. You can usually follow the trail of corpses, though. Isabella went back to the raiders. She's calling herself an admiral now. I don't know if she's actually in charge or just has a really big hat. Might be the same thing, honestly. Sebastian went back to Starkhaven. I'm sure he's boring all sorts of people there. Last I knew, Hawk's sister Bethany was doing something wardeny near the Anderfell's border. Aveline is still guard captain. I'm pretty sure Kirkwall would fall into the sea if she quit her job.
Well, thank you very much, Varric.